The build started, Kathleen.
All right, so we're going to build. Did we build? We succeeded. That's awesome. Okay, here we go. There we go. Now, one of the features there's a couple of features around debugging that I want to show. You can close the diagnostic tools. We're going to come back to that, but let's close it right now. If you hover at the beginning of those lines, right in that area, go down a couple. Okay, now click on that green arrow.
Ha!
Okay, this is called run to click, and I will tell you, I'm not as excited as Microsoft is. They're really excited about this feature, but I am excited about it, and it gives you a chance to stop someplace and then just bounce around.
Yeah.
You're gonna it's a little mouse happy. You know, you're gonna have to use the mouse, and it is the same as run to cursor, which exists. It's in your right-click menus. That'll remind you of what the keystroke is, which it's either Control F10 or Shift F10. I never remember which is set next statement and which is not. Now, did you know that to set the next statement, which means to just move what's going to execute next, this just ran. It ran the line 12 and then went to 13.
Exactly, yeah.
You can grab that little yellow arrow and move it. Now, there is a usability issue here that they have not solved yet, which is it doesn't go with you. It lags behind. It doesn't move until the point has actually moved, and there's no shadow or anything helping you with that move, but you can do that.
But so we literally so the two cases we did basically a run to cursor, or what what do they call that now? They probably call it something different.
Run to click.
Run to click.
With the green.
With the green arrow. So again, like if I click on that, that's run to that point, and then and that ran lines 11, 12, and then stopped on 13, but then the second case, we literally moved the execution point in our code, so the stack was still set the way it was, everything was still, we just moved the execution point higher up in the, very interesting.
Exactly.
Well, because that to me, that's, I know you're not excited about it. I actually am, because that,
no, I am excited. I'm just not. I mean, Microsoft is showing this off. You remember when we first got Zoom, and everybody had to show Zoom. Okay, they're a little happy.
There's a little Zoom happy about the run to click. Okay, so, but the thing that the benefit I see here is, like, if I'm stepping through code and I get stuck in a loop that's waiting for a condition that's like a million iterations away,
you can just click.
I just want to bounce out.
Although, I'll also remind you, you can use the conditional breakpoints to do a hit count.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's do one more thing. Instead of stopping, let's go ahead and do a little edit and continue stuff here. Okay. So after line 12, would you add another line?
I will.
Right there. And say term equals null. Okay.
Like so? You happy with that?
I'm happy with that. Are you happy with that?
Sure.
What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, I think it's going to define term, and then it's going to hit line 13 and set term equal to null.
And it actually we might not be able to get away with this, because I see that there's a purple underscore on the staff count. And I don't quite know why it did that, but normally when there's a purple, it's going to now give us an error about continuing. So hit F5, we might have to restart. Okay, so just stop and restart, and we'll just come to that again. Okay, you can hit F5. Okay. Now, I want you to kind of reposition that exception so everybody can see that. So just grab it at the top and get it where we can see it. It's going to be a little tricky here. There's a little bit of fit and finish that can still happen here. Okay, so it actually did not do what it was supposed to do. I'm very sad. We'll have to try this again. I'll show you a couple of other things about this null reference exception that we're looking at, and then I'll come back and we'll try again for me to demo what I wanted to show you right here.
Okay.
To start with, they talk about this as modal and non-modal, and the big thing is that it's going to stick around and let you do things in the background. So if you wanted to scroll to a different part of your code or something, this is just going to be kind of sticky there. And
so you talk about the dialogue itself.
The dialogue itself, yes. And then also, if you close the dialogue, you can get it back by clicking on that red X.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, so this is really this is super nice. The second thing is, it no longer tries to give you suggestions, and it no longer is quite as big as ugly, and it does a couple things I'm not going to suggest that we walk through. One of which is, if there's nested exceptions, they actually show up right below that exception,
that's so nice.
And you scroll left to right through the levels of nested exceptions. But there's also something that did not work here, which is which I'll figure out, and we'll try again later in our session here. It's just something called null reference analysis, and it just didn't come up the way I expected it to here.
Okay.
All right, so wow, we've just covered a whole lot of stuff. We've got a little bit about the new exception dialog we just looked at. Oh, I know one other thing we can do. Close that.
You got it.
And stop. I don't think we could keep going, doesn't matter. Just hit Control, comma.
Okay.
Okay, so now we get a new dialog, and I'd like you to start typing. Why don't you just put the letter S? Now you have everything that you've got in this solution that starts with the letter S, which is quite a few things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, here again, you can filter this. The filter is a little bit different. If you go over to those icons and click on one.
Which like line or class?
How about a class?
I'm assuming that's, or a types.
A type?
Types.
Okay, so you'll see that it prefixed with a T. Okay, so now you're going to see everything that's a type.
Interesting.
And so it's a little bit different experience to get this done. The work that they did is that it's fast for people like to type T. Is it a colon or a space? It's a space.
Looks like a
T space, control comma, T space, and then start typing.
So you can literally just type that in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if I erase this, go, I'm looking for types that start with S, and it comes
then you
right
get
back
the same
up. That's
thing.
fantastic.
Right, okay. And then if you use up and down arrow keys right now, you could use a mouse, but let's assume you're using up and down arrow keys. It moves through those. It's a little bit lagged, but I think that's just so you don't get a headache. Right. But it's going to go through those different classes and files and types and whatever it is that you're looking for at this point. It also... it does. I've never not found a way to do the multiples the way you can in the IntelliSense.
Right.
But it's a great way to look for an enum or look for something in a large project.
Nice.
So control comma is something that some people, including me, have just I do it all the time. Control comma and then I start typing to find something. Yeah. And this just makes that experience so much better. It's prettier. It's easier to navigate. It's easier to get around. There's some settings over there you can play with. There's various different things on this. So yeah.
Yeah, and this is really, again, hands on the keyboard.
Hands on the keyboard. Hands on the keyboard. Yeah, this gets you quickly wherever it is you're trying to go.
Very sweet.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little bit into pattern matching.
Okay.
It's a big, scary topic, isn't it?
It is.
F# has it, so it must be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So F# really is a great piece of the puzzle for all of us.
Yep.
Because F# is helping to show us where we can go and stay on the .NET, in the .NET ecosystem, the .NET realities. So sure, there's a lot of great functional languages out there. There's tons of them depending on what you're trying to do. But F# is unique in that it plays in our space. And so it can lead us to a new reality. This is a really small step that direction. And so I don't want to talk about pattern matching or what it could mean, except to say people like Mads Torgersen have said that they will do more with it in the future.
Gotcha.
I'm going to show you instead how it's going to make your life better today.
Okay.
All right?
I like better lives.
Okay. So where I'd like you to go is into the, you can position on Get Thank You Messages and jump over there. And I'll tell you a little bit about this application right now. So this application is about a pretend university. You probably had an idea about that from the fact we had students and staff. And this university wants to send a thank you message at the end of the term to everybody. But what this thank you message is going to say is going to depend on what that person is. A student's going to get a different message than a staff is going to get. Okay?
Makes sense.
And it's every semester it's going to be a different message, a different way of thinking about it. Now this sounds a little convoluted, and the reason that I came up with this idea is that there is a set of problems that are sometimes used in examples, which you would never do that way, probably. So like the area of a shape. If I have a geometric shape, and I want to know the area of geometric shapes, let me just put an area property on all of my geometric shapes.
Right.
Now, if I can't get to those shapes and I need a different way to do it, this would work. Or if it's something that's not inherently, not just intrinsically part of that object. So the message that we send at the end of a semester to a staff person, that is not intrinsically part of being a staff person, nor is it intrinsically part of being a semester. I stick it someplace that's a convenient location, but this is a special thing that I'm doing. And so I want to just help people to put it into the perspective of we have object orientation and nothing's changed about that. It's all great. And now we have a new way to also do things which works in some very specific scenarios. So that's kind of what I want to get to there on pattern matching. So what this does is it goes through and it loops through all of the people that have been created, and that was created in the seed data that we briefly looked at when we looked at the digit separator. And then we call a particular get thank you message for every person. Okay? So if you scroll down here, let's take a look at that. Now, you've never written that code, right, on line 28. If a student, the person as student, put it in a new variable, and then if that variable is not equal to null.
I've written that code many, many times.
How would you like to never write it again?
I would love to never
You'd
write that code.
you'd love to never write that code again.